All right, we're live. So, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the You Can't Fool You podcast. Today's episode is an awesome one because we're diving into the world of American football, but from a place where you might not expect, and that's Ireland. So, my guest here today is the founder of Gaelic Gridiron, which is America's or American football's Ireland's number one platform for American football. And so, bringing the game to a whole new audience, and this is awesome. I love American football. I played American football, and to see its reach kind of, you know, go into Ireland, another place that I love, and who also has a football which I also love, and so the two different footballs I kind of mix and match, and so. And this episode's kind of all about people who just go in on all their passion and building from the ground. So let's get into it. Jimmy, thanks for coming on, man.
Rocky, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Always a pleasure to be online with you. And look, I know it's been a while since we spoke last, and we've been talking a little bit. And I know you're planning a trip over here at some stage this year. So
Yep, at
looking
the end of the
forward to
year.
that as well, and looking forward to showing you around the old country. But yeah, look, I mean, like you said, American football is absolutely blowing up here in Ireland right now, and I can't hide the fact that it is my favorite thing to talk about it and to get into. So yeah, just thanks for having me on. Great to be
Yeah,
here.
of course. So I guess for some context, let's talk about the differences real quick between Gaelic football and American football. Both called football, but two very different sports. And I was fortunate enough to play both. I had a shorter career in Gaelic football, but I think it's an amazing sport. So what? Let's highlight what the biggest differences are because Gaelic football is a crazy sport.
Yeah, well, I think that the biggest difference in that everyone will tell you straight away is the fact that Gaelic football is actually involves kicking the ball a lot more than American football. It's the primary way that you play Gaelic football is by scoring points with your feet, passing the ball with your feet. It's a very physical sport as well. So there are some similarities in that regard to American football. But I think from a skill level, it's entirely different because you are hand passing, you are kicking a lot. It's a lot more movement in a Gaelic football, a lot more kind of lateral movement as well. American football tends to be very kind of linear. You run in a straight line and you might break off at some point, and somebody runs with you. But with Gaelic football, if you could draw a heat map versus American football, it's so much more back and forth and a lot more active than American football, perhaps. I mean, it's two very different skill sets. Both sports played by very, very, very highly skilled athletes. But what's interesting is that in Ireland, years and years ago, the kind of crossover between native Irish sports and American sports would be very limited. You might get ex-rugby players, who would transition into American football because that is more of a similar skill set in terms of the physicality and the shape of the ball and the place kicking, etc. But the Gaelic football now has been opened up as an avenue into American football, thanks to the GEA players who are getting opportunities to kick in America. So it is definitely kind of opened up a whole new market or a whole new world to Gaelic footballers. So it is interesting to see how the players are changing codes and bringing their skills into a different sport.
Yeah, and it's really cool. I mean, shout out to my club at home, the Young Ireland's Gaelic Football Club outside of Philly. It's like, you watch some of those guys and like some of the skill sets really do translate. Like some of those guys would be great receivers. Like they go up and get the ball and
Exactly,
they
yeah.
they come down with it. And a Gaelic football, when that thing's kicked, is way harder to catch than a football. Way harder to catch. And you got to go up and get that thing. And so, yeah, Gaelic football is an awesome sport, but let's bring it back to American football. So we'll back it up. And what was your first exposure to American football? Like, what was it like growing up in Ireland, and how did you find out about it?
Well, first of all, I didn't actually realize that you play Gaelic football, so I'm
I
I'm
did.
familiar with Young Ireland's there in Philly, and I do know some players who have previously played with them. So that's a cool fact about you that I know now. But I
I had a
suppose
very short career. I had a very short career. I think I only played in one sevens match and one regular game, and then there was too many dislocated shoulders after that, and I had to stop going to the hospital. And then that was it. My career was over.
no pads or helmets in Gaelic football, so you're getting a shoulder, you are going to feel the full impact of that. But yeah, like you said, I mean, great crossover at skill sets there. in terms of American football, my origin story is I think I was 17 or 18 years old, and I was just about to watch the Super Bowl, and it was the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Arizona Cardinals back in 2008 or 2009. And I had no idea about American football. I wasn't into sport at all as a kid. I was very unathletic and unsportlike. And this came on TV late one Sunday night, and I said to myself, "This is something different. It's something that's new. I've no one's really talking about this, so it was something that I could kind of identify as my own and kind of relate to as, oh, this is something unique." And then I was obsessed. I was absolutely hooked. And the reason I became a Pittsburgh Steelers fan is actually by chance, because myself and my friend, we were both watching the game, and we decided to flip a coin to see who would become a supporter of which team. And luckily for me, I became a Steelers fan, because God forbid that I got the Cardinals. I would have been in for years and years of pain. And funnily enough, my friend is actually no longer an Arizona Cardinals fan. So that just goes to show you that I got the
You got
better
the
end
better
of the
half.
bargain there. But percent. So proud to be a Steelers fan. But I suppose, like I said, I mean, I wasn't really into sport as a young adult. And American football gave me something that was mine, something that I could have as mine, and I loved it. I fell in love instantly, and it did eventually open up the world of sport to me a bit more, because I started to play here in Ireland. I found a team in my university in DCU, the DCU Saints, and even though I was absolutely awful, I had a great time. I loved it. I started playing as a linebacker, and that did not go well because I kept getting run over by fellas who were bigger than me. So I switched to offense for a while. I got a little bit better. Um, I've been banging the drum of American football, Rockne, in Ireland for 15 years now almost, and it's fantastic to see that it's now finally beginning to catch on, and it's becoming more mainstream. I mean, in the build up to the Super Bowl this weekend or next weekend, and even throughout the whole season, there's on national radio here in Ireland, you'll often hear updates about the NFL. And
Yeah.
my heart still I still get goosebumps when I hear that, because I still can't believe the fact that regular radio and TV and print and media here in Ireland, mainstream media, are talking about the NFL and American football on a regular basis. So, as someone who has been a passionate fan for 15 years, and to see how far it's come, it's still very special to me.
Yeah, so as a passionate fan, right, you watch that first game. Where like, here you it's on TV all the time.
Mm,
ESPN shows the same clips every single day. Even in the off season when football's not on, they're still talking about
yeah.
football. So where were you getting like if there was no media, there was no broad, where are you getting all your football information from?
Well, back then there was literally one channel that showed the games, and that was Channel 4. So if you wanted to watch a game, you had to stay up until stupid o'clock in the morning to watch
Yeah.
the one game that Channel 4 would show, and it could be starting at 1:30 in the morning here in Ireland, or 8:30 p.m. on the East Coast. But eventually Sky Sports started to show, games every Sunday, and it became a bit more accessible to watch games, but you still had to have, a premium subscription to your TV
Yeah, right.
package. So it was hard. But I actually remember discovering ESPN America, which is now a defunct channel, and it would show wall to wall college football here in
Yeah.
Ireland or the UK on a Saturday. So I would sit down at 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon and watch college game day here, and then just watch it until like 1 a.m. I wouldn't leave the couch. It was
Yeah.
great. But unfortunately, that no longer exists. Of course, then you'd have to go onto YouTube to find highlights from the day before, or onto your
Right.
favorite team's websites to get highlights. It was quite challenging, and luckily it has become a lot more accessible. You have the likes of NFL Game Pass here. Sky Sports coverage has become a lot better, a lot more accessible, and we're hoping that our own Irish broadcasters will eventually start to show games here next year, perhaps the 2025 season. So look, it has come a long way, but it was definitely dark days back then when you were desperately trying to find some way of watching American football.
Yeah, and so then you went to go play for a little bit, and then at what moment did you kind of make the switch of like, I mean, I can't imagine there was a ton of people playing and there was a ton of teams, like a whole league at that time, or was there?
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, there's been an American Football League in Ireland in some shape or form for the better part of 25, 30 years.
Really? Yeah.
it wasn't great. The setup wasn't great, organization wasn't great, but it was the kind of the passion that brought people together. These are all, if you were an American football fan back in, the late 90s, early 2000s, up to the mid kind of 2000s, you were definitely a mister. You had something wrong in your head, running headfirst into other people with a helmet and pads on a Sunday afternoon, or midweek. So it was very much a kind of camaraderie sort of thing that we had going on. And look, it went through some challenging times, but now I think in Ireland there's upwards of 15 to 16 kidded teams, plus a whole league as well, flag football league. So I mean, it has come a long way, but it was definitely, yeah. There were some interesting times when you were you're playing both ways, because you had 12 players on the sideline,
Yeah,
so you
right.
ended up having to play linebacker or receiver for a full game. But yeah, I mean, there's been such a passionate core of American football fans in Ireland who have kept the league alive really over the past 10, 15 years, to bring it to where the stage is now, where you're getting young adults. I mean, there's a whole youth league now in Ireland where kids
Yeah,
who are
that's great.
14, 15 are playing youth kidded American football. So there's a structure in place for them, which is amazing. And
Yeah.
then because their team or their club has that system, when they turn 18, they go straight into the senior side. So it's almost like a development system. We even have a national youth team, the Youth Wolfhounds. It's night and day compared to it was when I was playing, which is just, you love to see it. I mean, it really is fantastic.
Yeah. And so then when was the decision that you made to kind of get into like journalism and start reporting on it? And like what was the state of, what you were getting into at that point compared to where it is now? Because you put in a lot of work to get where you are.
I mean, back then it was just a blog, right? It was actually, it wasn't even Gaelic Gridiron. There's a website floating out around out there somewhere called Inside the 10 that I can't get the logins to delete. So it's out there somewhere. You'll still find it. I suppose that was the genesis of the grandfather of Gaelic Gridiron, where I would either write about, some of my early articles might have been a game report from the game I just played in, or talking about a random historic game in Ireland, or
Right.
the top five Super Bowl parties, or places to watch American football in Ireland. So it was really really basic stuff, but
Yeah.
I had always been a creative writer. I mean, English was my strongest subject in school. I had always loved writing, so I suppose at that stage I was kind of exploring combining my love of American football with my love of creative writing and my passion for creativity, and it just kind of came together. I mean, that would have been 2015 or 2016 that I started doing that, or maybe even later. But it took me a lot longer to kind of realize, for it to click, that this is what I wanted to do with my life, that this was
Yeah.
my passion. This is, this is my thing. I mean that took me, almost 7 more years to kind of figure that out. But um yeah, I mean, like, you have to start somewhere, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's like it's like you in the podcast. What you're doing is fantastic. I mean, it's great to see you. Everyone has to start somewhere. Everyone has their kind of their origin story, and sometimes it takes you a little bit longer than usual to figure out what you want to do, or to realize, oh, that thing I did 10 years ago that I kind of enjoyed. Oh, I want to do that now for
Yeah.
real.
Well, when you start, it's like a lot of times when you start, you don't see the results right away. You say, I guess it could be like making content, or you're writing the blogs and maybe they're not getting a lot of views or they're not getting a lot of traction, but it's more about the consistency of continuing to do it. And then, how did you stay, I guess the word that's good to use is like resiliency. Like you had to have been extremely resilient if you were doing this consistently for a long enough period of time where you were then like, wait, I could actually make a career out of this.
Yeah,
So how
yeah,
did you
resiliency
stay
in
so
it.
resilient?
I mean, it was definitely challenging, because Irish people like to knock each other down, and there's a lot of haters in the world, and a lot of people will hate you for trying to do something different, or trying to stand out from the pack, or trying to put your head above the rest. And I
Yeah,
mean, there was definitely some people who tried to knock me down in those early days, and not as much now. And I think everyone's kind of realized that what I'm doing here is not about me as such. It's trying to, like, my goal and my mission has always been to grow the sport of American football in Ireland, to grow awareness, to grow fan base, just to grow. I mean, I love the game, and all I want to do is for it to be bigger here and be as big as possible. It's never been about me as a person or trying to advance myself personally. That might come with it, but that's never been my overall aim. And early days, people will, they leave nasty comments and say, "Oh, this is shit," or "What are you doing?" Blah blah blah. But you have to block out the noise, and you have to say, "I love doing this. This brings me joy in my life, and I'm just going to keep doing it." And yeah, it can be discouraging, and you can definitely question yourself, and you say, "I might just give up now." I mean, I'm not getting anywhere here. All I'm getting is
Yeah.
is grief. But you have to look past it. You have to look at the bigger picture and just say, this is something that really, really brings me joy in my life. It gives me a sense of direction and a sense of purpose. And I'm just gonna let the haters hate and just and get on with it. But yeah, it's definitely taught me a lot of resiliency. There's been a lot of challenges, a lot of roadblocks. People not being, you know, in a world like this where it is a kind of a small community per se, you do rely a lot on cooperation of other people and collaboration with different teams and different clubs. I mean, for example, during the Irish season here, I would do a weekly roundup of all the games and
Yeah.
results and a bit of commentary on the games. And in the early days when I started doing that, people thought I was spying. They thought I was trying to get insider information, and I'm like, no, are you fucking serious? Like, you know who I am. I don't play anymore. I am not affiliated with any team. But
Yeah.
I remember one day rocking down to a game, and it was my old team that I had played for, so that there was a little bit of bad blood there still with some of the players, and I couldn't get anything out of them. Like I couldn't get scores, I couldn't get players, nothing. It took a bit of time to build that relationship with the various teams, and now look, it's now I've become, or we Gaelic Gridiron has become one of the premier national kind of outlets for covering the games, because we've been recognized for our quality of our work and our level of detail and commitment and consistency. That has definitely improved. But in the early days, you were kind of pissing against the wind because you couldn't get any news out of anyone, so you couldn't write about anything. So it really just teach you not even resiliency, it teaches you persistence as well, and just being able to be bullheaded. But yeah, but like now it's flying. So all those things, they stick with you and they make you a better person, I think.
Yeah. And so what were you doing then? As this was kind of like hobby side hustle, what were you doing like full time before then?
I mean, you mean in terms of my actual career that
Yeah, yeah.
pays?
What was your actual career that was paying you?
Yeah, I mean, well, I got into marketing maybe 10 years now, 10 years ago now, kind of by accident. So my undergrad degree was in communication studies, which was, I mean, to be honest with you, the diploma wasn't worth the paper it was printed on. It may as well have been in crayon for all it was worth, for all the effort that I put into my undergrad. Because look, I was not in a good place as a young man, as a young adult, and obviously I've come into my own now, and I definitely have in a lot better place now. Yeah, I mean, when I first started playing American football, I was working in bars and restaurants, trying to just make money, and that wasn't great. So I eventually got myself into a master's degree program to go work in marketing, purely because I didn't want to work in media, didn't want to work in radio or TV, which is kind of ironic now when you look back at it, because, well, what am I doing now? I'm working in media. I'm working in,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get into the media industry, so it's funny how the world works. But yeah, I mean, when I was kind of got into the writing seriously, I was working, yeah, in different industry. I worked in the financial services industry for a while, still do as a marketer. And luckily enough, I've had enough balance with my work and life that I've been able to put a significant amount of time into the hobby, or the passion project. And I've been fortunate that way, that I've had that balance, and I've been able to dedicate so much to growing this into where it is now and what I hope it to be. Very much right now trying to make that transition, and it's so hard, right, to break into the media full time, as a permanent as a permanent employee with any media outlet, and oftentimes, I mean, even some of the top broadcasters in Ireland and across the world, they all have a couple of jobs, right? They do radio work, they do print work, they do TV work, they do. That's what I'm one of my big goals for 2025 is to get something somewhere within the national media in Ireland that relates to sports media or American football or NFL, but always have that real job to fall back in, which is marketing for me. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm good at marketing and I enjoy it to a certain extent, but the roles that I've been in, they haven't really quite enabled me to be as creative as I'd like and to express my creativity. So it's hard. It's good to have that outlet, that creative outlet outside of my 9 to 5, which is obviously Gaelic Gridiron and the media and content I do. But no, I've been fortunate to have the kind of role where I have, you know, 8:30 to 5:30, and then the rest of my time is either, working out or Gaelic Gridiron pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. And like, how much happier are you? Because
Oh, I mean,
your work is full of purpose and,
yeah.
doing what interests you, but also like you said, right, you're advancing yourself, but you advancing yourself is actually byproduct, you know, helping the greater good because you're providing something for, the whole country, like a different sport and everything to get into. So your work's got to be like super purposeful now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely love it. And there was a moment about 2 years ago now where, so obviously American football has grown to the extent where it's not just me, of course, and I'm not going to shout out any of my competitors and give them a free platform in your podcast, but there are some other creators and very influential people to whom I am very grateful to. And actually, I'll shout out Michael McQuaid here, because Michael McQuaid is one of the preeminent American football creators in Ireland. And you look how much I've worked at. He's worked twice as hard, or 3 times as hard to get to where he is now. So a couple of years ago, we were actually at a launch event for the Notre Dame Navy game in Dublin, and there was typical kind of media event, questions and answers from media, drinks, get your photo taken with the players, blah blah blah. Very kind of corporate event. And on the train home, so Michael McQuaid and I were on the same train home. We had a conversation that he was starting a podcast, the official Steelers Ireland podcast, which I'm also part of. So the Steelers were launching a presence into Ireland, obviously as part of the NFL global marketing rights. As part of that process, or as part of that marketing plan, they were launching an official podcast. And Mick obviously knew that I was a massive Steelers fan, and he asked me to be part of that podcast, to be a co-host of that podcast. And that, on the train home, then it kind of clicked. Something kind of went off in my brain that said, here's an opportunity. And I said to myself, fuck it, I'm just going to go all in. I'm just going to do what Mick
Yeah.
does. And I just decided to, at that point, make it my mission to do this as much as possible to the highest standard possible, and turn Gaelic Gridiron into the best version of itself, and to do media, sports media, American football, NFL, all that full time. And that ever since, I mean, I think that was might have been May 2023, and 2 years later, we're definitely making progress. But the ceiling is so high right now, and
Yeah.
because American football and NFL is only really taking off in Ireland. So I hate to say it, but the sky is the limit.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's great. And would you say that now you committing and pursuing that has brought out, the best version of yourself as
Yeah,
well? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I was always a fairly shy kind of person, or maybe quite reserved, and doing the media side of things, face to face interviews, the videos, podcasts, media sessions, all of that kind of stuff has really helped me with my self confidence, my self belief. I mean, and I mean, everyone has it. I mean, there's times where I still get nerves. I could be doing a video here in my house, and it's literally just me and my
Yeah.
phone, and I'll still get nervous. And then I'm kind of like, "Would you come on? Like, it's you and you. Like, what are you getting nervous about?" So you kind of have to just shake yourself off. Give yourself one of those, and like, right, let's just do it. But I love it. Like, I love interviewing people. I get such a buzz out of doing interviews and doing content, and meeting new people, and like it's opened up a whole new world to me in terms of, you know, discovering stuff about myself and going, oh, okay, I'm actually quite good at this, you know, and I do genuinely enjoy it. So, 100%. I mean, I'm a much better person from having gone on this journey, you know. So it's
Yeah.
like there's still you can still see there's so much improvement. Well, not improvement, but there's scope to get better and to, you know, become a more polished presenter or whatever it may be. And hopefully with that experience, more opportunities will come within the, you know, the mainstream kind of sphere.
Yeah. Right. And that's, I mean, it's kind of, again, kind of a classic saying, but like the journey is the reward, right? Like
Hundred percent.
that's what makes it so much fun is you're having fun along the way. And because you're practicing so much and you're super consistent in doing it, like you can feel yourself getting better, which is also like super encouraging to help
Yeah,
stay consistent, right? And I
yeah,
think one thing that's definitely not to be overlooked is like you're having fun doing it, right? Like having fun, I think is so important. Like you're more likely to stick with things and continue to do stuff if you're having a good time,
yeah.
right?
I mean,
It's
if you're not enjoying it, it's going to be a slog, right? I mean, you have to enjoy it. You have to embrace it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is hard work. I mean, a lot of people don't realize how much work actually goes into, you know, the content or the what goes on behind the scenes. I mean, you know, videos and articles and all that kind of stuff. There is an incredible amount of actual manual labor that goes into putting
yeah,
those together. And like you say, it's consistency. And to be consistent is challenging. I mean, to keep, you know, new, fresh, enjoyable, engaging content coming out on a regular basis, it is practically a second job. But it doesn't
yeah,
feel like a job, you know, because I love it. And I love it so much. Like, I mean, so last year, for example, I was over in the UK twice and consecutive weekends for the NFL games in London. I was then in Germany in Munich for the Munich game between the Panthers and the Giants. And this year coming, there's going to be at least five international NFL games around Europe that I'm going to go to, plus maybe a trip to America for a game. So there's that element of it as well. That if you want to
yeah. The
do it
travel,
properly, if you want to do it properly and you want to say, I'm going to do this the right way and I'm going to maximize the output and the return, you have to make those decisions. Okay, am I willing to travel almost every weekend in October, November? And if the answer is not yes, then you're wasting your time because you're not all the way in. Or, you know, for
yeah,
example, I should be in New Orleans now this weekend coming, and unfortunately this year I can't make it, but that's going to kill me. I'm going to see everyone over there. Like, there's a good chance I'm going off Instagram for the next 2 weeks because it's just going to drive me nuts.
right.
If I
FOMO,
see big time, if I see everyone over there and I'm like, shit, I should be there. But that just, to me, that just shows you how much that I've just bought into this whole journey and say, this is my life now. This is what I want to do with my life.
yeah. With like social media now and everything, and it seems like everybody's kind of got a platform to do something. Do you think it's that has made it like easier or harder to get credibility in sports media?
I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah,
I think you have to be on Instagram if you want to put together, if you want to be spotted or seen or, you know, whatever, then you have to be on social media consistently posting and putting out top quality content. But at this, you know, and that kind of ties back to, you know, getting polished and being consistent and all that sort of thing. But at the same time, it's such, and it's kind of surprising that because American football as an interest and as a genre is still relatively in its infant stages here in Ireland, it's still a very kind of compressed market or saturated market because there are so many other platforms out there doing the same thing. So you have to pivot, you have to find your niche, right? Sorry, you have to find your niche within your niche because every big story, every Irish American football platform is going to do something about it. So you have to find a way to stand out and be different and, you know, being, you know, what's your kind of angle and that sort of thing. So in a way, I mean, don't get me wrong, Instagram and all that, it's great for getting your name out there and getting your face out there. And if the day does come where you get an opportunity to be on, you know, be on a bigger platform, then you can say, look, this is all the work that I've done myself off my own back. But at the same time, there are other people out there competing for those same spots and that next opportunity. So I would say social media within the world of trying to being a content creator is it's a double-edged sword these days.
Yeah. I think when do something different, I think kind of goes back to like, what are you doing different if it's such a saturated market? So finding your niche within your
Yeah.
niche within your niche is like it's hard to beat authenticity, right? There can only be there nobody can be Jimmy English better than Jimmy English, right? So
Thank God for that.
yeah. So like
Two, two,
that's
two of me is a bad idea. Two of me would be terrifying. One of them's bad enough.
so authenticity kind of always wins. That's the best way to be different. So as long as you just, come up yourself authentic, like that's just the best way. That's just the best way to be different.
I mean, be yourself. What does the expression go? Be yourself. Everyone else is taken. I mean, if you can't be
Yeah.
yourself, then what do you? I mean, it's like you can't fool you. You don't try to be somebody you're not. Just embrace yourself. Embrace your good characteristics, your bad characteristics, you know, play to your strengths. Don't try to be somebody else. Just be you. Maybe be a slightly exaggerated version of you sometimes, but because it is still media and show business after all, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be a little bit extra sometimes. But I think as long as you're true to yourself as a whole, that's the key to success. Because if someone's gonna like you for you, that's great. And if they don't, who cares? Like, they can keep scrolling, but no, definitely be as true to yourself as possible.
Yeah. So if you could go back and what would say some kids listening to this episode, whether they're here or in Ireland, what do you want some kids to take from your story?
Don't wait. Don't ever hesitate. If you have an idea or a passion or something that you want to try, just do it. I mean, the worst thing that's going to happen is you mightn't be great at the start, but the more you practice, the more you're consistent, the more work you put into it. Only if you enjoy it now. Don't do something because you think you have to do it or you should be doing it, but just do it. Just take that risk, take that chance, and you might be surprised that you might find something like I did, like that you love. I think that the biggest thing I could say to myself is don't waste any time. Just get stuck in and start doing it, and you'll find your way. You'll find your path. And yeah, you're gonna suck at the start because your first anything is bad, but your 100th one will be great. So just have that consistency, have that patience, and just do what you love. And yeah, don't wait ever. Run head first into the building.
Yeah, I mean, I totally. And we were kind of like chatting about this before, we started recording. Is like, I mean, I would say like the same thing. I kind of bounced around trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do and what I wanted to pursue. And it took me making some wrong decisions and falling on my face a couple times for me to get to it is that, kind of always like in my heart intuitively that I kind of always knew that I wanted to do,
Yeah,
but like I was trying to do something that I thought I should be doing instead of
exactly.
just going for it. And it's that's great advice. I would probably give the same thing. Is don't wait for it, just go. If you
Don't
think
wait
that's
for
what
it.
you should be doing, yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like you say, I mean, I think deep down I think you mightn't in your active conscious mind know what you want to do with your life, but your heart will always guide you. Your heart will always point you in the right
Absolutely.
direction. And if it feels right, it feels right. And I just remember sitting on that train ride home, having that conversation with Michael McQuaid, and just knowing that this is what I wanted to do. This is going to be
Yeah.
my life. My life is going to be American football media, sports media, and now I'm trying to branch out into different things. But that's a different podcast with regards to the other avenues that have opened up now. But I mean, American football media will always be number one, and that's now my kind of sole focus is just get as far as I can with this, and let's see what happens.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And I see you post. You're doing some tracks, some running.
My other passion, Rockne, my other passion, the other thing that keeps me busy, if it's not American football, it's athletics. Yeah, I am part of a local athletics club. So, I mean, I always ran. I started running in school when I was 16 years old, and my then physical education teacher, who really got me into running and, encouraged me and inspired me, is now still running, and he must be in his 80s, and he's part of the same club. So there's another kind of full circle moment where
Yeah.
I see him every now and then, and I'm like, yeah, I remember you shouting at me running around the field 17 years
Yeah.
ago, 18 years ago, and here we are now. But yeah, no, running is my other passion. I love it. It's pure addiction
Yeah.
to progress and to fitness and that feeling you get and just doing something that makes you feel good. And it's not just the fitness side of thing. It's a social thing as well, where you have that club. Um, so when I moved back to my hometown, Drogheda, a few years ago to start saving for a mortgage, because our housing system in Ireland is completely fucked right now and has been fucked for years. So the only way you can get a mortgage as a single man in Ireland is to live with your parents for the guts of 4 years. So when I moved home, I needed something to do. I needed to distract me, to keep me occupied. So I joined the local running club, and then I was running distance. I was running 5Ks and 10Ks. And then I decided to become a sprinter, because why not?
Yeah.
And that was 3 years ago. And now I run 400 and 200 meters, and we train four days a week. And
Nice.
yeah, no, it's great. So between that and the American football, I have no free time whatsoever. But it's great because I'm doing things that I'm passionate about and that I
Yeah.
love. And I think it's kind of important that you enjoy these things. I mean, so with the athletics, it can be very competitive, and if you're at a certain level, you're expected to. I mean, you're not just going to do all the training for the sake of it, right? You could, but you're going to race, right? You're going to enter races. It's going to be extremely intense and competitive. So, for a long time, I struggled with, not getting anywhere, not seeing actual improvements with my times, and it drove me nuts. Like, it drove me to the point of, like, I was almost ready to quit. So this year, my approach to running, and also with everything else that I'm doing on the side, is just enjoy it. Enjoy the
Yeah.
process, because you can drive yourself insane looking for tiny little margins of improvement where you mightn't see it. It might take you months and months and months and months to see any sort of improvement, but you are improving gradually. So I'm not obsessing about it. I'm just enjoying the whole process. And because sometimes the training and the racing can be very physically demanding, it's hard. Like, it is challenging
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you don't enjoy it, you're gonna hate it, and you're gonna end up burning out. That's how my kind of mentality and philosophy has shifted a lot. As this year, with regards to everything, really is just try and enjoy it while doing your best.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically you have like two examples of being extremely resilient, right? Because you first started with kind of reporting on all the American football, hard to get interviews from people, writing blogs and all this, but you just kept going.
Keep going.
Sports, life, athletics, whatever, even, now with running, if you weren't getting the times, like it's just still consistently stay with
Just
it, stay with
put
it,
in the
stay with
work.
it, and watch. Eventually, at one point, you're gonna crush the times, and you're gonna have your best times ever,
Yeah.
and you're gonna be like, damn, thank God I didn't give up, right?
Yeah.
Because then, and it makes it more rewarding that
Yeah.
you didn't quit when you got there.
Like, and and that's kind of in that kind of mindset and philosophy has inspired my mantra, which is work hard and believe in yourself. And I think those are two very important things. Okay, yeah, put in the work to the best of your ability, but it's not just about work. It's about self-belief.
Yeah,
You have to trust that you can do this, that you are on the correct path, and that the world, the universe has your back, okay, but you have your own back. Because if there's no self-belief there's no self-trust, you're going to get nowhere. You have to be 100% certain that you are doing what you're meant to be doing and that you are on the right track. Otherwise, it's pointless. And yeah, there will be self doubt. Don't get me wrong. There will be times where you're like, what the fuck am I doing here? I must be
yeah,
crazy. But then you just
yeah,
remind yourself that I believe you. I believe in myself. And I think that's been one of my biggest part of my personal growth as a person, is just self belief is number one, that I am
yeah.
doing the right thing here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's key. Like, who, if you're not going to believe in yourself, who is? And like for any, if it's always like, there was a book the podcast episode that I released today. The guest gave me the book, and it's called "Stay Sane in an Insane World" by Greg Harden. He coached like Tom Brady, Mike Phelps, Desmond Howard, all these like Michigan greats, and he talks about self belief, right? And if you're a coach and you're coaching, because well, if you don't believe in yourself, why should I believe in you, right? And that's like some of the things that he would say to some of the athletes. And I think it was Tom Brady specifically that he was saying that too. He's like, well, if you don't believe in yourself,
Yeah.
why should I? And then his whole attitude like changed completely.
Yeah.
And then obviously Tom Brady became Tom Brady. So
We all know about him.
what?
We don't have to. We have to talk about him.
Yeah. And so what in terms of say call it personal development, mental fitness, whatever you want to call it, mental health. What kind of practices do you use? Are you meditate? Are you a journaler? Are you you know how do you kind of stay clear in your head, always trying to be like in alignment with yourself?
I think it's just mental. I think it's just kind of self-talk. I tried meditation. I probably didn't give it enough of a chance as I should have. I can't sit still to save my life, so that didn't really work for me. But I think it's just having constant mental conversations with yourself and
Yeah.
constant self-reassurance and positive self-talk and just not fighting with yourself, really. Just don't fight with yourself. The world is hard enough without having another enemy inside your own head. So I think it's very important just to practice positive self-talk, and just be kind to yourself. Just generally be easy on yourself. And look, I can be my own worst enemy sometimes in terms of self-criticism and being hard on myself. So I just took a step back and said, okay, this is not good. I need to give myself a break, especially when you have a lot going on and a lot of kind of challenging stuff, or kind of areas where you want to put out a good output. So I think that's very important. And yeah, maybe journaling or trying to get back to meditating, but I'm definitely on a good path right now, I think.
Yeah, I've always found journaling in terms of self-talk to be
Yeah.
super effective because if you just free write, and just write about what your thoughts, because then it's just going to come out, and it really brings attention and awareness to like how you're talking to yourself.
Yeah.
And then you can go back and actually see how you were talking to yourself, and
Yeah.
then you're able to kind of just like track it over time and go back like, man, I was really talking to myself that way. Like why was I talking to myself? No wonder I
Yeah.
was feeling the way I was in my head having negative self talk all the time. And negative self talk's really not, I mean, it doesn't really, at least from my experience, and it doesn't really get you anywhere,
No. It sets you back big time. I mean, it's like I said, we all have enough people pissing on us without trying to do the same to ourselves.
Yeah, right. Just be kind to yourself. Talk
Be
positively.
kind to yourself.
So what's the future of Gaelic Gridiron? What are your big goals for 2025? Where do you hope to see this thing?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, Rockne, and I suppose it all depends on what happens or what transpires in a couple of months here in Ireland. So obviously, Ireland is the home of the European home of college football. So we have a couple of big games every year, or a big game every year. But you know, I think the big thing for us would be if and when we get an NFL game here in Dublin. And the rumors are that it's happening in September
Yeah,
2025. It's Steelers Packers in Crow Park. I
be
can't
great.
seem to nail anyone down on it, so I think it's going to happen, but they're going to have to announce it pretty soon for the logistics to happen. So I think that'll be a turning point for the whole world of American football in Ireland, is to have an NFL
Yeah,
regular season game here. I think the entire city would just lose its shit for a
yeah,
week, be an absolute carnival. So that'll be fantastic, and I think they're obviously in terms of raising the profile of the sport and raising the profile of the people who cover the sport here. That's the dream. That's our Everest, our unicorn. Is to
yeah,
have an NFL game here in Ireland, and just thinking about all the content we can get out of it. There's weeks and months of content you can get out of that game in the
yeah,
build up, afterwards, etc., etc. So it would really be a landmark occasion, and so that's for the brand of Gaelic Gridiron. That would be phenomenal. For myself, I'd be hoping to get in with the mainstream organization, RTE, Virgin Media, one of the mainstream TV channels or radio channels, and provide actual live coverage and analysis in the build up to the game, on game day, and post game as well. I mean, that would be a dream come true to be involved in national media in some respect in relation to the NFL games. Just keep putting out the positive vibes, keep doing what I'm doing, try and elevate my game as much as I can, and just see what happens. Just work my ass off and trust the universe. Work hard and believe in myself, Rockney. That's my plan for
that's it.
2025, and
That's it. I love it.
see what happens.
What are your Super Bowl predictions? You
I
better
I
not say
just
the Chiefs. You better not
No,
say the
God, no. I'm
Chiefs.
not gonna to a Philly man. I'm not gonna say that. Are you crazy? I'd never hear the end of it, especially with all the Philly guys watching this podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I look the Chiefs. It's like three things are certain in life. Death, taxes, and the Kansas City Chiefs. But I think with the phenomenal run that the Eagles have had, Saquon Barkley is just a generational talent. Jalen Hurts is having the best year ever. Defense is playing lights out. And I think the Chiefs have had an easy enough run this year. They've gotten lucky in certain scenarios. They've just
yeah.
done enough to win. They've had a lot of good calls go their way. They've had a lot of momentum go their way. They've had a lot of luck go their way. But I do think the Eagles are going to beat them. I think it's going to be very, very close. But I do see the Eagles beating them. And I hope to God the Eagles beat them because I hate the Chiefs. Well, I don't hate the Chiefs, but everyone hates the Chiefs. They're like the new
Everyone's
Patriots.
yeah, everyone's just tired of the Chiefs.
Everyone's just tired. I mean, get over it. Like, I mean, no one cares anymore. They have to, I
Right?
mean, they have to lose at some point, and I just hope the Eagles can do it.
Yeah, I mean they are tough, man. They're tough, and like situationally, they play such good football. Like they
Yeah.
always have the right play call. Mahomes or whoever makes the right play every time, and I think there's a lot to be said to that. Like they just know how to win, and they
Yeah. They
always do
do.
it. But I mean, it's our year, man. It's our year. The Birds are taking it this year. I know we need redemption from that
Yeah.
last Super Bowl 2 years ago. It's our year.
That was tough. And I think that'll play into it a lot. The players might say that it doesn't, but I think, I think you can't not buy into the narrative of, revenge game, repeat. I'm a Steelers fan. We all know the history between the Steelers and the Eagles. I'm rooting for the Birds on the 9th of February because I can't stand the Kansas City Chiefs and I want somebody else to win. I mean, ideally it would have been the Bills, but you
Yeah,
know,
Bills Eagles would have been a good Super Bowl. New
Bills
Orleans
Eagles
would have been,
or I think Bills Lions would have been a great game as well.
but New Orleans would have been a lot more fun with a bunch of Bills and a bunch of Eagles fans.
Look, I'm gonna get there. I'll get there at someday. I'm shooting for San Fran in 2026. That's my next Super Bowl.
Okay,
Booking the hotels already. Gotta be.
got to be, I guess. Yeah, right.
Price is
Well,
crazy, man.
I can imagine. Where can people go to find you to stay in touch with you and keep viewing your content and continue to support?
Yeah, GaelicGridiron.com is the website. All socials at Gaelic Gridiron. And look, if you want to reach out on my own personal Instagram, it's the Jimmy English. Always happy to have a conversation and always happy to hear from people as well. And listen, Rockne, this has been an absolute blast. So thanks for having me on, man.
No, thank you. I appreciate your time. I'll link all of your contact links in the show notes so that way it's easy access for anybody who wants to continue to follow. But it also like your story is amazing. Your resiliency to continue to just work, 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 and really going for what it is that you're super passionate about and believe in. And I think it's inspiring. And as someone who loves both American football and Gaelic football, I love seeing what you're doing for Ireland and bringing the sport of American football over there because I'm gonna say American football is the greatest game in the world and that it should be out there for everybody to be able to participate in and learn about and be a part of. It's been such a huge part of my life. So thank you for continuing to spread the love of
Yeah,
American
my
football to
pleasure.
Ireland.
And now that I know that you've played Gaelic football, when you're over here in October, I'm getting an O'Neill size 5. We're gonna have a kick around. That's happening.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm so down. Let's do it. And so that'll be a good time. I can't wait for that.
Sounds good, man.
All right. All right, man. Well, thank you.
Cheers, Rockne.
All right. Thank you, everyone. This has been a great conversation. If you enjoyed, please share with somebody, follow, subscribe, rate. And this has been awesome, man. Thank you.
Take care.